Right, I'd like to review a football book this week, and it is The Memories of a BBC Football Correspondent, and it's titled Extra Time and Penalties by Mike Ingham, and it's a relatively new book. I think it's only been out a couple of months. Actually, I've done a bit of broadcasting with the BBC myself. I really enjoyed working with Mike White, Radio Ambassador at Wembley, for the 2017 FA Vars final, Cleethorpes down against South Shields. So, yeah, I'm a field broadcaster. I really enjoyed this book because it covers my sporting era, with Mike being of a similar age to myself. He was born in Macclesfield, but his family moved to Plymouth. He had a serious health scare when he was diagnosed with dysentery when he was only 4, but he pulled through it. Went to his first live match in 1958 in Plymouth versus Gillingham in a first round FA Cup tie, 8 years of age, with his father taking him. His first league game was Plymouth versus Hull City, by coincidence, Christmas '58. Both teams being promoted that season. Purely by coincidence, I saw my first live game in August 1959, that following season, Hull City versus Plymouth, so that was a coincidence. His family moved to Belper in Derbyshire when he was 11. He had passed his 11 plus in Plymouth, so went to grammar school in Belper, and again this reminds me of my school days. It just describes on this page his first day at school. On this introductory day, I felt as if I'd shrunk overnight. Having taken the 11 plus early in Plymouth, I was now officially the youngest member of this establishment. One ceremonial ritual passed down for all male inductees in this mixed school was to be asked if you had been to Fairyland. This was a non-negotiable invitation, as you were dragged off to the changing rooms and fully clothed, hosed down under a cold shower. Character building it was called. Not really, just blatant bullying, which always seemed to go unpunished. You could be in trouble with the authorities if your tie was not straight, but apparently they had carte blanche to perpetrate assault on you. I would learn that the school had some bizarre double standards when it came to code of conduct. Yeah, it's high school for building that I went to. They used to shove you down the coal chute into the cellar and then put your head down the toilet and pull the chain. Thought it was funny. 1964, his father managed to get him a couple of tickets for the FA Cup final, which was then Preston against West Ham, which gave him an even bigger yearning and desire to be involved in a sporting career. He then studied law at Birmingham College of Commerce and got a part-time job as a DJ in a Birmingham nightclub. 1973, applied and was successful to get onto local hospital radio commentary, followed by a successful application to join BBC Radio Derby. So this was the start of broadcasting for Mike Ingham, and if I get the right page, it talks about his experience at Radio Derby. The 5 years I spent at Radio Derby were the happiest in my career. For a start, if I had not been there, I would not have bumped into a young lady named Lorna Dickinson, who was learning to make a radio programme at night school. I am so pleased to have been able to offer her a spot of extra tuition. These were my foundation blocks, working in the sort of community that local radio was made for, alongside an eclectic mix of talented characters. It was very much like the Drop the Dead Donkey TV sitcom. At times it felt like a large dysfunctional family in need of not so much a board of governors but a panel of Ireland marriage guidance counsellors or psychiatrists to keep them in check. Initially the job felt more like training to be a pilot than a broadcaster. I had come to terms with operating the studio control panel more akin to a Second World War relic from Bletchley Park than equipment Sir George Martin might have used. It didn't take long, though, for me to be issued with a tape recorder, which felt like carrying a microwave oven over your shoulder, and released onto the streets, very often to do one of those dead donkey features for the end of the bulletin. He covered Derby County in the Brian Clough era when moving to BBC Radio London sports department. Mike's father asked Brian Clough to say a few words about Mike when he left, which again, I'll just do a quick reading about what Mr. Clough said about him. Brian Clough, for Mike Ingham on his leaving, said, "Mike, good luck to you. It's far easier being interviewed by you than your father. His machine, his headphones and his microphone literally inches from my nose, but as both amateurs and laymen in your industry, we would like to say simply good luck to you in your new position. I hope it goes well for you. I hope you realise any ambitions that you have buried deep down or even on the surface. You know that having left Derby, you've left a lot of friends and you've left people that you can always come back to. If a telephone call is made, and any, what word can I use? Cooperation is required. You know you have a friend at Nottingham Forest." He then had a job of reading sports bulletins on the famous BBC Today programme. He was promoted to being a broadcaster on BBC Sport on 2, working with the likes of the famous Welsh rugby player Cliff Morgan. He met and later married his wife Lorna, who was starting her career at London Weekend Television, where she met many famous film and TV stars of the day. Mike then presented a programme called the International Assignment Series on Radio 4, interviewing Alexa Muhammad Ali and cricket commentator John Arlott and others. The BBC sports editor asked him to do football commentary and work with the very well-known and sadly missed Peter Jones in 1984. Unfortunately, one of his earliest games was the 1985 European Cup final, Liverpool versus Juventus, which was remembered as the Heysel disaster with the deaths of a lot of Italian fans. Yet the game was still played, and Mike's memory of that, just again a couple of quick thoughts. Peter Jones had said in commentary, "Who would have thought that this match would be edged with black, the black of death? All right, let's just try to now report on the European Cup final of 1985." And to start the commentary, my colleague, who has been doing very different things for the last hour, is Mike Ingham. And if you listen to the tape, this is followed by a silence of 10 to 15 seconds before he picks up, because Peter had grabbed hold of his arm and he's squeezing it tight. And Mike begins with, "This final was billed to be a dream final. It is a nightmare final now." And who could ever believe that they actually, after that disaster before the game, actually carried on and played the game, which was just a total nonsense. Mike then went on to commentate on Radio 5 in season 1992-3, covering various World Cups and European Championships, meeting and befriending quite a few England managers, such as Graham Taylor, who sent him this birthday message on his 50th birthday, so there was obviously a lot of respect between Mike Ingham and Graham Taylor. In July 1990, I became the England manager, an event which prompted the BBC to take the approach, well, if he can get the job, who can we give our top job to? And that was how Mike Ingham was appointed chief football correspondent. Naturally, I took pity on him, and being the sort of fellow I am, wondered how I could make him feel that he had a good relationship with me. I came upon a super idea. Why not let him pick the England teams? It would be impossible to have a better relationship. It is time the truth came out, and this is what happened. He picked the England teams and I wrote the scripts for him. The outcome was, I got the sack, and he is still a top man. One day, I hope you'll tell me why you picked that team to play in Norway. It's been bugging me for a long time. So it was a nice tribute on his birthday. In 2010, Mike was awarded an MBE for services to sports broadcasting. Things began to change a lot at the BBC, especially when they decided to uproot the sports department from London to Salford. he decided it was time to go and decided to finish his BBC career at the Brazilian World Cup. By this time he had worked with an expert team of summarisers, as he listed this following team as a team of summarisers: Ray Clements in goal, back four Danny Mills, Mark Lawrenson, Terry Butcher, Jimmy Armfield. Midfield he had Martin O'Neill, Jan Molby, Trevor Brookings, Chris Waddle, Dennis Lowe, Stan Collymore, and his summarisers would be managers David Pleat and Graham Taylor. The final chapter, Mike gives his very forthright views about the modern day BBC and its management. He has very forthright views on the sports personality of the year show and the extravagant cost of it all for one night. He believes that has been to the detriment of other sports coverage. And no football commentator could write a book without mentioning everyone's favourite manager not to interview, Nigel Pearson. After Nigel Pearson insulted a junior reporter, Pat Murphy intervened and tells Pearson, "Football gets a lot of money from the media, which should be treated with more respect." Pearson replies with the usual sarcastic comment, "Is the lecture over?" I think there's one or two local commentators in this area have had similar happenings and events with good friend Nigel Pearson. Mike then talks about 5 very respected colleagues who had to leave the BBC due to a change in policy. He has some very interesting thoughts on the FA. There's a surprise. It's kind of match man. He lists his favourite world football 11, which is quite interesting. And I'll just give a final reading towards the end of the book. And what Mike says in the book is, radio is still going strong in the long distance lorries, on Saturday afternoon market stalls and in student bedsitters, but will only survive if a generation pass it on. For the sake of John Peel and John Arlott and all of the other pioneers who are the soundtrack of my life, I pray that it can, but I'm not optimistic. We live in an age when people don't write letters to each other anymore, don't appear to have meal table conversations, and are too quick to dash out an insincere rest in peace on Twitter after someone they never knew passes away. I hope the old habits will die hard, and I'm so grateful while I am still here to have had this opportunity to look back over a life most treasured for family, friends, and for allowing me to realise, I should have turned that off, shouldn't I? Allow me to realise my dream as an 8-year-old, to work for what should still be regarded as the greatest broadcasting institution in the world. Radio may no longer be in the bloodstream of today's younger generation, and that is a source of great sadness, because at its best there is no better company. Actually, I could have written that myself. I totally agree with that. And as usual, I hope you enjoyed this review, apart from the telephone call in the end, which I think was possibly Sky Television asking me if I want to come and review it on one of their shows, but I doubt it very much. And as usual, if you enjoyed it, I'll try and do another one next week. If not, just delete it. See you soon.